Something I struggle with a lot is figuring out what I should do in the midst of a negative experience, or how I should respond to an undesired outcome, specifically in the moment. And I bet you've felt this way too at some point, if not often, if you're like me. The feeling of not having any sort of control over the things that happen to us. Sometimes not having any understanding of what's going on in that moment, or even being quick to blame ourselves for the outcome or the experience. But there are two things that I believe are true. Two things that I try to remind myself every once in a while to help with these feelings and these situations. The first thing I tell myself is that I am not always the cause of everything that happens to me. Not every negative experience or interaction is my fault. But what is equally true is the second thing I tell myself immediately after, and that is that I am responsible for how I respond to the things that happen to me, how I respond to whatever life throws at me. It's a powerful choice that is understandably forgotten about in the moment, and that's why it's such a struggle for me. It's hard to choose a positive or even a more neutral response to a negative outcome. But we don't have to be perfect all the time, because we're always going to let some things get to us sometimes. It's fine. It's okay to accept that we're human. It's okay to accept that toxic interactions will occur, failure is common, and negative outcomes in general can feel regular at times. But I genuinely believe it is our responsibility to do our best to respond to those things in a way that keeps ourselves grounded and on track and moving forward. Because, and this might sound a bit harsh, the truth is that we're not going to get very far if we wait for negativity to resolve itself. Or, wait for some sort of closure or a concrete resolution or explanation before we can move on with our lives and continue to do whatever it is we were doing. We'll be stuck no matter what, even if we're justified in our feelings towards the situation. We can't expect others to change to accommodate our needs, even if it's what many of us believe should happen, and we certainly can't expect our luck to improve either. It's just not worth it, especially whenever we play the blame game. It kills the fun and enjoyment we get out of all of our experiences and our progression, and identifying the cause of our negative outcomes, and or pointing fingers won't make us feel any better in the long run, I promise. Especially when we hold on to these feelings with smaller things that happen to us. Which, when you think about it in the moment, whenever a small thing happens to us, it's just adding onto the bigger pile. I can recall a smaller moment in WoW I had not too long ago, where I got kicked from a dungeon group before it even started. It's late in the current season as I'm recording this, and the expansion as a whole, so it took quite a long time to find a group in general, and once I did, we all entered the portal, and right before the run started, I was all of a sudden not in the party anymore. Again, a very small example of a negative outcome, I guess, but if something small like that were to happen enough times, which for some of us might be something that happens regularly, it would not be unreasonable to eventually land on thoughts such as, should I stop doing dungeons for a while? Or is this game even worth playing anymore? I'm kinda joking a little bit on that last one, but honestly, for some of us, those thoughts may not actually be that crazy, especially if we're having a particularly bad day or week leading up to that moment. And of course, the solution could be simply a break, which might be, the perfect response to situations like that. And it would be a very viable choice to make. But that's just it. I think we forget that our response to any outcome is in fact our choice. And we often have multiple ways to respond to situations at all times. Never underestimate the power of genuine curiosity as a response either. Funnily enough, in my example, when I left the dungeon through the portal and mounted up to go back to Dornegal, I noticed another player swoop into the entrance that was of the same guild as the party lead. I could only assume that he was my replacement, but who knows? It definitely provided some additional context to the situation in any case, and it was another opportunity for me to choose how I respond to my party kick. Maybe that guy fit the group composition better. Maybe he had higher rating or eye level. Or maybe it really was just a buddy of the party lead that came online and they just wanted to play with him instead. Now, would I have preferred to have them shoot me a quick chat to tell me if either of those things were the case? In a perfect world, yeah, of course. But am I going to wait until that happens or even, demand that it happens in order to feel better and move forward? No, I don't think so. That example might sound a bit over the top or dramatic for what it really is, but something I've noticed more and more over the years is that upwards of half of all of the problems I've ever encountered or the negative feelings that I have, most of the time it's my mind making minor things seem like major ones. And so as far as how I try to improve my responses to what happens to me, I've also found it really helpful to ask myself stuff like, what am I holding on to that is giving me the most stress right now? What is causing the most pain specifically? Or maybe something like, what am I overemphasizing right now? Am I overthinking a minor mistake that I might have made along the way? And what can I take away from this experience that will make my next attempt better, or my next journey entirely better? Just some things to think about. And with that, I want to pass some of these questions off to you guys now. What is giving you the most stress right now? What is the source? And is your current response to that stress providing what you want? And what else could you try in order to release your grip on that situation? How else could you respond? That is going to do it for me for today. I know it's a little bit of a short one, but as always, please feel free to share your stories and your experiences down in the comments below. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.